Hey there, it's Deja Vu. I don't know if anyone hears me yet, but I am here. I am live, and I am here with data that I want to share, information. I'm going to do some reading from a book. It's on the tagline, and I want to talk to you about two different individuals. One of them wrote that book, and the other has written other books, and they are both people who are explaining the truth, letting us know things, and they were deleted from our world. Okay. One is, she wasn't naturally from my area, but the lady's name is on the tagline. She was someone I actually conversed with and never conversed with in any way. The character that we know as Milton, what is he? William Cooper is how it is actually on the book I have, but he goes by Milton as well. Like his middle name or his first name is Milton. Anyway, I was doing some reading the other day. Now, this was before I took that break I took over on the channel that I do for love, either at Tinker or at the other one, Lucky Star. But I was trying to keep my space workable. So I ran into the book. It was hanging around the area I was at, and it fell open. Now, Spirit does not make any mistakes when I'm coming across information. And I'll read about it in a moment, but let me tell you where it come open at. It come open to what would be like 251, chapter 14. A proposed constitutional model for the new states of America. So Spirit was wanting me to see that chapter. So in other words, don't play around, just get right to the point. So when I do read, that is where we're going. Because the heritage foundation of 2025 is a foot now. And it has been, as with the WEF and all these other things, right? So Tracy Twyman, she was an occultist type, but she was also a truth teller, somebody of modern time, telling us of things that we should be concerned about. So she was like, I guess, a quasi whistleblower, if you will. She got involved in the information regarding that guy that you might have heard of named Isaac, Kappy. Anyways, when she was at the very, very last days of her existence that we knew her, right? She would, and I really hope that you can hear me because the mic is kind of turned funny. She would start talking about Tyler, and I think it was a AI, okay? And this was 2019. So we're like looking at like, what is that? 6 years going on, 6 years since her actual end. She was being harassed by artificial, right? A form, right? So this is the kind of thing, like, you probably think I'm nuts because you heard me when I was talking about seeing the image of, in the still shot, seeing Arnold looking just like in the certain still shot, and then speaking to Spirit and getting Terminator out of the Scrabble. Okay, I'm not far off the margin though. Do you know how I know this? Anything that they can actually produce and show us with their very eyes, with our eyes, they can put it on this, the stage. They're light years ahead, right? And actually, these entities that we, they're actually synonymous with demons because they never had a birth where they were born to a flesh suit, right? They're inserted, if at all. They possess, if at all. That's the only way they've ever been able to be in a human suit or even an animal suit, like say they were to invade some kind of animal, right? So what I'm saying is that their interest in having one is up there. So to possess us, now, there could be an argument out there about whether they are actually the same thing, but they're very much alike. And I have studied a little bit in the past, and I'd like you to go look into it yourself. If you're curious about the Black Knight satellite, it goes beyond the lifetimes of humans. It's way before us, right? So we were reading yesterday here on this channel a little bit about the Egypt discoveries of the batteries under the pyramids and how we're locked in is what I was getting. And Carrie had come in and she had a question about star seeds, and I was only going lightly on the topic. I wasn't going too deep into it. And as well, I have to like Maybe we're thinking of somebody named Stuart. Somebody's going to eat stew. I don't know. I don't know why I got the word stew there, but stew. Okay. I'm still going to educate myself on these skeletons and the Smithsonian story that Jeffrey Seeker 7 asked me to look into. If there's any topics that didn't get enough attention or noticement, I didn't pay attention, please let me know. But you'll need to listen thoroughly to the video that they did cut on us yesterday. So, and that was not me. I didn't touch my machine. I was within arm's distance of it, but I didn't touch it. So that video was cut down. Now I'd like to thank whomever, if somebody did come in here and do a thumb up, because I see one and I don't think that's YouTube, and I don't think I did that. So I would like to thank anybody who did that. And if you do, thumb up. Thank you so much for feeding the algorithm here. So Tracy was being harassed in 2019, and it might have started before that, but I don't recollect right now. And my talking with her was so limited. It was just in her comment areas to her YouTube videos. She was a very down-to-earth person. She's very educated. She's younger than me by 7 years, okay? She's very educated. She wasn't somebody who held it over anyone, you know, like, I'm better than, you know, you're not as educated, don't talk to me. She was not like that at all. And she was approachable. Let's just say she's very approachable. She's very wise. She enjoyed getting other people's viewpoints, opinions. It wasn't she only wanted to hear people gaslighting her, and praise her, you know, like, we love your work, you know, this kind of thing. She was a very down-to-earth person. Anyway, so this character, this creature that did not have a body, right? It was a bot, if you will, right? That's what she would liken it to, but she also articulated it as an A, intelligence, right? You know, those two initials. And that's where I got cut off yesterday, so I got to be careful. Anyways, Tyler, I was studying asteroids around the time, and, you know, there's names you come across, and I was really deep in the astrology research. So if I would look into a famous person with a name, I would look into a place on the map, I would look into the meaning in all different, like, say, ethnic culture backgrounds, right? To see the meaning of anything. I would look at names inside and out when I was studying asteroids. And Tyler was one that I have a broken machine now that I've gotten rid of since. My documentation was in there. And I remember that one. Tyler, because it's the middle name to a former boyfriend. So it is an easy one for me to kind of hold on to, right? Anyways, that name, it actually was noted, and I don't know what in my memory right now, what I found it like as to, but for the Freemason groups, the brotherhoods, right? It's actually a name that has something to do with being the monitor at the door to let in the specific codes, the people who are acceptable to come into a brotherhood meeting. So that name holds some kind of significance. Now, that isn't something I know Tracy knew or not. I wouldn't know. She might have known that too as well, because she is very occult. You know, everything she researched was really deep. So she might have known that too. But it went by that. And this is I can't wrap my head around it really. So there might have actually been physical people. It's really hard to tell. Apparently her husband, she had a second husband. He was Iraqi national born. And I don't know to what degree, but apparently from what I'm gathering, there was just from some of the reading I did. This is all hearsay because I don't know firsthand. I didn't talk to Tracy. I don't know. I haven't even tried to speak to her, you know, through channeling or any, you know, I wouldn't do that because I think I would get some kind of a, you know, a farce, something to usurp my energy, and I wouldn't do that. So I could ask one of my guides to see if they could reach out to her. I could go like a go-between. I could see about that, you know, mechanism, but I hadn't even thought about that. Maybe I could, if I were to sufficiently protect myself here, you know, to do that. But anyways, Tracy was under a threat by Tyler. Now, Tyler was sent towards her to stop her from exploiting the truth about what we called the PIZZA gate thing going on. Here where I live, where she was at, there was a scenario where there was a lot of human trafficking going on related to a famous donut factory, a donut shop, restaurant, and underground. And it was known as the Little Pink Box place here in the area. And it was known, VOODOO was one of the names to it. And so without, saying too much more, she was getting involved in that story. And there are some things that might still be out there on that. I'll leave it there. But there were people who wanted to keep her quiet. I'll just put it to that point, okay? So I can't wrap my head around some of it, though, because if her husband and her were really, truly having problems, was he infected? Because the thing is that I personally see things differently than other people. And I feel that an infection, if, say, you think of a demon possession, right? Well, what if an artificial, right, could infect a person just like a demon, or they're synonymous? Maybe it would, right? But how do we know that he wasn't? Okay, so you know what I'm saying. Okay, so anyways, he was the one, and ever since she has passed on, he's done things, according to what I've read, to quiet her or throw dirt on her name so that she doesn't have a reach. People, it's hard to find. Like, I'll go looking for her and I can't find her as easily as I want to. She's so easily, the waters are muddy. You don't know where she is, right? They have a whole lot of other people with the same name, which I didn't used to see that. So it's just kind of bizarre. And then finding her stuff, it takes a lot of perseverance to find her stuff. And that is when you can find it at all. And that's because she had fans. Okay, so let me get on to the Reddit criteria. I just want to read a little bit here on Reddit. Somebody said, who, Killed, Tracy. They said this 2 years ago. And I'm going to go through to the third paragraph, okay? She had been receiving DEATH threats, her site hacked, and was being cyberstalked for several years before her death. Certain people were not happy with this smart and engaging woman who used her vast knowledge of historical bloodlines and occult symbolism to decode the very fabric of reality. After immersing myself in her writing and interviews for the past 2 months, it's become obvious that there are certain teachings that are deliberately kept hidden from public awareness. Such teachings enable the powerful to collude with forces both seen and unseen, and for many nefarious agendas. If enough people knew what Tracy knew, it could threaten the stranglehold that the 0.01% have over the rest of us. And this person typed plebs, PLEBS. I don't know if that's an actual word. It's not one I'm familiar with. And they simply couldn't stand for that. Now, could they? Simple answer. The longer answer involves competing power factions within the U.S. security state who designed a choose-your-own-adventure mind control scheme known as Q. I want to stop for a moment. Q is 17, the 17th letter in the alphabet. 17th letter equating the star card in astrology, that is Aquarius, but also most don't realize that we aren't operating truly in Aquarius, but most of the world believes we are, for the Pluto revisit to be transiting in Aquarius. It's really in Capricorn, if you do sidereal. But the world believes it's Aquarius, and that's what matters. Because if they have people believing something, it's like kind of like a sacrifice or a sacrament. What is a ceremony? So it's like you have to have it kind of like if enough people go into, say, a congregation and they believe a certain way, they could feed something to happen, manifest in a certain way. And so they have to have enough believers in an untruth to make the truth real, to make it a reality. So that's why some of these people who are right now, who we listen to in Congress, et cetera, lying, because some of them think that they're turning it into truth as they speak. They've got enough people, enough sheep listening to them in their herd. They could turn a lie into a truth, kind of like turning wine from a grape, right? It's like, it's an alchemy. So they, and it says, I don't want to go into this too long, but they, in essence, they're so wicked that they want, like a magician, to manipulate the reality in which we all live. That is what I'm saying. And so where did they get most of their ideas? They ripped off Tracy Twyman's legitimate work and trusted up into something that could be weaponized for political purposes. On the surface, it appeared to take aim at the Democratic Party after Jan 6, which I've said on many occasions, Jan 6 is actually 16. 1 plus 6 is 16, not in mathematical terms, but the 1 and the 6 together makes a 16, which is the tower. So this whole farce that we're in now is based on a tower, which is about to implode, but I don't know how long before it does. I have a poll out there for you if you'd like to go look at it. I have a mixed bag of thoughts going on with what's going on with our national security being at risk because of Signal app, but I will speak on that later. I'll wait and see if anybody shows up and talks about it. I might later make mention of it, but I did have 4 different options there. I would like it if you would take a moment just to answer. Thanks so much. It was more obvious that the real target had been Republicans all along. It's my own personal opinion that the Q PSYOP was a sophisticated bipartisan collaboration. The resulting hysteria was an industrial-level trap, with millions falling for it. This PSYOP achieved multiple agendas, not all of them apparent as of yet. Now, this was written 2 years ago, so look where we are, okay? One such outcome, people who are concerned about molesta, little ones being, right, and trafficking of minors can now be easily painted with the crazy brush. As mentioned, the people behind the psychological operation were effectively stealing Tracy Twyman's theories and insights, even implanting them in photo ops in a way that would make people foam at the mouth with revelatory disgust. I believe Tracy herself got baited by the same folks. See this image in point, and I don't have it here, but something about a picture of Podesta with 14 on one hand and a fish on the other. So I don't know where, if you can locate that. There's no link to it. But they say above is an example of the perfect breadcrumb. A person or a group with a lot to hide can wrap their lies in many layers of truth, resulting in mass confusion, hysteria, finger pointing, and ultimately deflecting attention, which this regime we have now is the master of deflection. Finger pointing at somebody else who has say, like in Christ in the Bible, he says, when he is told that he has a splinter in his eye, he says, but it's nothing. I'm paraphrasing here. In comparison to the log you have in yours. So, today, DJT on the question seat was speaking about Goldberg, or whatever his name is, the guy who was the journalist who was given the information in Signal that shouldn't have gone to him. Okay. He called him a scumbag. Well, who's the biggest scumbag of this world right now? He should know a scumbag. And this Goldman, whatever his last name is, Goldman, I think it's Goldberg, a hero, just right up there with Assange and I'm trying to think of his name now, Snowden, to tell us, to exploit things that were meaningfully important to us to know. And mind you, I want to kind of go off this for a second just to make a note that I found that girl, I think her name is Lauren, who does the video I was speaking of, and I was worried about. I saw her. She actually put out a very poignant video, and it was right along the vein of what I've been going on. And I commented to her. Hopefully she'll see what I said. They tried to stop me. It was deleted the first try I did, and it said something failed, something went wrong. I've been getting that a lot. So I am censored big time, especially on the other channel, because that is the one that I'm able to feed in. Well, until I had a dream. So I think I'm at the end of the rope there until my premium expires. I think it's about to. So I've been nickeling and diming it over here. So quite honestly, when I do donations, I am going to actually be desperate for help. I recognize that people may only want to help me over at the other channel if they do it all, but I'll probably disappear if I can't, because the energy I'm putting out is not just my physical energy. Everything I do to juice the machine and use the lights, do the things I use, whether I show video or not, I'm still putting out energy. That is what I pay for out of the pocket. So it isn't, so I'm just explaining my situation. But anyways, back to reading on Tracy and this comment here at Reddit. Hysterical finger pointing, ultimate deflected attention. They used Tracy to pull off this literal use of magic and manipulation. And this is why I believe she is no longer with us. And this is spot on. The person, I'd only read a little bit from this person, and reading it further, I really believe this person is completely somebody who is of sound mind. They had been a Tracy listener, reader, and this makes this person very powerful when it comes to having a single-minded way of thinking, not hive-minded. Okay, somebody who doesn't like wait for somebody else to say something. They come together with their own thought after the criteria is placed into their thinking, their reasonable, their cognition, their abilities to reason, right? Okay, so there is another angle in which I need to be delicate, as it involves Tracy's estranged husband, who is currently on his own mission to remove all of Tracy's work from the internet. For some background, a fatwa was placed on Tracy and her first husband, Brian Albert, back in 2005, after they republished images of Muhammad on their website in support of Danish newspapers that were being attacked for doing the same. This was the same year that Tracy met an Iraqi man who would later become her second husband. Tracy's first husband died in 2011. Again, it is claimed via self-deletion by hang, right? When I read her archived article about her flight to London, featuring this not-so-fateful first meeting with her husband, her future husband, it chilled me to my core. Now, there's a web archive I may come back to click, and it has to do with that, I guess. Have further evidence of a coordinated attempt to remove all traces of Miss Twyman from public consciousness. Her Wikipedia page was listed under Tracy R. Twyman. Born in 1978 and ended in 2019. American author, a media personality. Oh wait, that link doesn't work now, does it? That's because on November the 3rd, 2019, 5 months after she ended her life, or her life ended, okay, an anonymous user removed her page entirely. I followed the IP address that removed her page from Wikipedia's list of people with the same last name, Twyman, and it led me to a Japanese telecommunications corporation named SoftBank. Taking into account the manipulative PSYOP method of dropping calculated breadcrumbs, the trail realistically ends there. There have been several other anomalies in the reporting of her death. For example, about a month after her Wikipedia page was deleted, Ms. Twyman, her official obituary was finally released. And there's a link to that too. Based in the Columbian, which is a Oregon-based, I believe, paper. Here's where it gets even darker. I noted a few months ago there was a Tracy R. Twyman mention listing on findagrave.com, but this page has also since been removed. I remember this page distinctly because I was perturbed to read her cause of death, which they described as self-ending by hanging. I'm not, I can't do a definitive way there with my, because I can't say on YouTube the way it's actually worded. Who writes this in the memorial? Well, it didn't last long. This is what you find now if you click on her Find a Grave memorial page. Okay, I'm not clicking it. Again, you can find this out yourself. I may have to circle back on another occasion here, but right now there are two different links here relating to this woman who is now gone, okay? Apparently, Find a Grave does not delete memorials unless there is some legal reason for doing so. I have plenty more to add. This answer will likely already be suppressed for using too many tripwire words. So I'll end here. Tracy Twyman was a spiritual warrior and one of the smartest, bravest people to have ever walked this planet. So we have another comment here. I'm posting this here. This is by Queen of Hearts 33. It's the most recent thread on Tracy Twyman. Many people think she had schizophrenia or similar before her death. Some people believe she was KILLED, and after her KILL switch audio recording was released, it appears that she was indeed fearing for her life and receiving DEATH threats. And I gotta say that people can be blamed for being paranoid, schizophrenic, etc., etc. That doesn't excuse the fact if there is threats made on them. People need to stop putting things under a rug just because they're afraid to look at the boogeyman and point the finger at the victim in that way. Where is that going to get us? And where the hell has it gotten us now? This woman's gone, and I don't believe she did it on her own accord. She loved her child. I remember her speaking of this, and she also said she would never do this. I think she took it very serious and personal because she lost her first husband this way. So she never would have wanted this for her child to have had that mother to have been stolen in this way. So I'm very strongly against the idea that she did this herself, okay, and that she was paranoid. I think she had every right to be. That's how I feel. And just as some of us that we know we are TIs, some of us are TIs. And if you are, it's no fun to have people like poke fun at you and say you're just paranoid. You just think, So I'm just saying this because I do think I attract some TIs here. So it's the same kind of thing, right? And the biggest thing that they are against, they being the 0.01, the 1%, the very smallest sliver, the wealthiest ones, right? The ones in control and their lapdogs. The biggest thing they're worried about is the truth ever getting out and being believed by others. So any of us that are willing to speak the truth, the biggest threat is that we would be believed by others. So it's much easier just to say we're crazy. There's something very off about us. I'm calling myself in there too, because I'm not alone. There's a good 200 people that I probably found on YouTube that are, some are not here and some are, that have been in that category. And many more, known than myself, known better than myself. I'm not somebody that's very, very well known out here, but I'm just saying varied categories, people who have a further stretch than some. But let's get back to the reading, okay? Okay, so she also claimed that one of the messages she received claimed that she would be forced to off herself, okay? And I do remember her saying that in a video on YouTube. I have a full backup of her now deleted website, and a realization hit me today after revisiting her last blog posts and audio recordings. I want to say one more thing. There is a public personality who is very known in the Northwest. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to get ensnarled in anything. I don't want to bring any ramifications on me, but he has a radio show. And so if you know who I'm talking about, I've mentioned him in the past. If you know who I'm talking about, you do. He was connected to her, and that's how I even knew of who she was. They were involved with each other, and not in a romantic sense, but they were involved with writing and research and audio works, and I think she produced his show sometimes. And so anyways, he has changed his tune so dramatically since the regime stepped in that we have now. Now, this is what's really confusing for me to my degree. I was kind of waffling both sides of the fence while I was trying to get details and data on both sides, trying to ascertain what was more dangerous to us while we were at that point of, which I didn't vote, as you know, but at that point of what side is more dangerous. And my husband would vote, and he would be a proponent for the Walz, Tim Walz and Kamala side, the blue side, because he is a person that is union. So that would be the way that they're actually supposed to always go, right? Well, the other side, the only reason why I ever aligned with that side, the one that's a regime here now, was because they were against forcing us to have a particular thing done to our body. And if you know, you know what I'm saying. And I was aligned to that because my body, to me, is my temple. You know, I don't treat it the best, but I sure in hell don't want somebody forcing me to do something worse to it. Anyways, when they started talking about they're eating people's furry-faced friends, you know, I'm not going to go there about that. I was believing of the propaganda they were spewing. And after I took a step back and I realized the amount of propaganda that money and that campaign was paying, they had probably MAGA after MAGA after MAGA believing them, who might not have, you know. And also the other campaign that I believed in was, and this is kind of sad, I'm being honest, okay? That's the thing with me, is that most people won't even speak of their errors, their mistakes. I will. I'm a person who's, fuck it. I throw my frickin' arrogance down. I don't have to have an ego. We learn from our mistakes. And if we're too stupid to be arrogant to let others learn that we made a mistake, what good are we? What good are we? And how can you trust a politician who never admits to their own faults and mistakes? So I'm going to admit, when Colorado was speaking out about massive amounts of people from Venezuela coming in and taking over the cities, I believed it was true. I've since learned that it was all a lie. They might have shot some video to make it look true. There's a couple things going on with the politics right now that I kind of wonder if they're propaganda, because this regime is very good at getting Hollywood involved, producers, camera people, script writers. They can make anything look real that isn't. And he used to be on that Apprentice show. So I think that he has connections. So when they say that we are in America now, like the biggest reality series ever, the world is watching us, I don't find that to be a joke at all. Because I got to thinking, if we were in another nation, if we were in Cuba or we were in North Korea, where there's fascism, right? I would think that they'd pull the plug on us. Now, I don't want them to, but for the outside world to see what's going on in here. So that the whole thing would be just shut down. The ability to speak out to the world. So I think that he is making some kind of money off of us. So like a grandiose version of Truman Show. We are all unwittingly part of a reality series. At the same time, some of it may truly be happening, these things that we're hearing, and maybe some of it isn't. It's frightening. It is so frightening to be in the time we're in now. And this is a massive gaslight campaign on us as people in America, and maybe even the friends that are watching, because they don't know what to believe either. So you're getting it from one of the Americans here. we only know what they tell us, and we have to discern what is true and what isn't. Okay, so back to reading. And I think I'm being suppressed because I used to get a lot of visitors show up even when I was just talking. People who didn't belong here and people who did. So when I say that, I mean like there are young people who were coming in here just to hang out or whatever they were doing. And there were other situations where people would just pop in, and not seeing anybody pop in, which I'm not complaining. People are busy, but I find it really, really weird and erroneous that I've been here an hour and I've not seen one person. I hope I haven't done anything to upset anybody. I hope I'm not frightening anyone. I think that we do have to be trigger ready. When I say that, I mean recognize that things are going to be uncomfortable, that we can't be snowflakes. If we are a snowflake, then how are we helpful to the masses, to each other, to ourselves? We can't be totally afraid, right? We can't. So I'm going back to reading on the subject of Tracy Twyman. One of her last blogs was titled, "The Internet Has Been Compromised." Her ramblings were about online gang stalking and an extremely complex AI system hacking into her devices and recording her. A filter being placed over her online experience and nefarious comments and insults from her friends being posted on her social media. She also mentioned that this AI system could read her mind in real time, torment you with your worst fears, and replicate the voice of people. So anybody she knew. And she was on the mark. This was ahead of schedule. They were going after people of her caliber. And then she could easily be somebody that people could dissuade you to trust. And I'm not somebody that did that. But she might have lost a few followers. I don't know. As an avid follower of her research, I did believe she was being gang stalked. However, many of her followers thought she was suffering a mental breakdown. That's what I'm saying there, which led to her taking her own life. Well, I still don't think she did take her own life. I do think that she might have felt hopeless. Yes, that is possible. I do think there was some desperation in her voice when I heard her, but not the kind of desperation that would say, okay, then I'm done. I'm not getting anyone to listen. I'm going. She was not narcissistic. She was about helping others, enlightening others. There was not an arrogance in her. It just wasn't her. And this leads me to the whole purpose of this post. Around a month ago, Netflix released a series called Red Rose. The following contains spoilers. The premise of the series is that a teenage friend group are experiencing what appear to be paranormal events after downloading an app called Red Rose on their phones. They start experiencing tormented based on their past traumas and worst fears. So like something invoking those deep-seated things that only they would know, right? Getting phone calls, and a demon could find, from dead relatives and friends, and seeing entities stood behind them through the phone cameras. Red Rose also starts breaking the friend group apart as they start receiving nasty phone calls, voice messages, and social media comments from each other. It ultimately leads to death and injury of the friends. So they're like a kind of paranoia between them, because now there's something mimicking each of them. Although appearing to be paranormal in nature, Red Rose turns out to be a group of elite gang stalkers using advanced technology AI as a form of entertainment to observe the teen's downfall and gamble on her lives. In a way, a kind of advanced dark web red room. Okay, so I'm just going to say this. Back then, the dark web was like spoken of a lot. It's gotten quiet, like they've scrubbed a lot out here in the wild. So I'm going to say this. I think that if somebody wanted to use the artificial fixture we know is Intel, those two letters, you know, like an attack dog, they could go into the dark web and they could assert some kind of power or energy, or kind of like how you would train a demon to do your bidding. if you're a sorcerer, right? Same kind of thing. Techno, maybe / both, right? Sorcerer, techno, whatever. So you could say Spot or whatever the dog's name would be with these, or, I'm just going to use that as a kind of terminology. You could sick them on an individual, and you could have particular orders, commands put upon for them to do. Say you want to ruin a marriage. Say you want to ruin a career. Say you want to erode somebody's credibility in their entire community. They could be somebody who was always upstanding. You could change that completely if you use these two mechanisms together. And I'm going to probably take this into parts. I'm thinking that I will do Tracy and then move on to the other part after, because I am going quite a wise in ways. And yesterday was a strange day. So I want to remind you, if anybody is speaking on part for me outside of YouTube, outside of the channels you know me at, which I only run the 3. I have 2 backup you can inquire about if you're curious, which I don't use because they're not able to go live. I would love to get them that way. So if anybody would like to help me do that, that would be great. But it is not a recommendation that we have to do, but they would be backup on this platform. If anybody, hey there, how are you doing? Good to see you. It's good to see you. I was concerned yesterday that I lost you because you didn't show, but it's not it's not a prerequisite just because you're subscribed, you have to. But with the things going down, I was kind of concerned. Then it was nice to see you comment. Thank you so much. So what I'm saying is, if my voice, my likeness, if anybody knows what my likeness, because I've shown myself, but seldomly, if they were to see me out here speaking, or something about me, right? It could very well be a mimicry. It could be a system that is being used from the dark web, or somebody exploiting the services in which now we know are probably out there at the fingertips of anyone who's willing to pay the money to use them, or they have connections, or they're very savvy. See, the thing is that I've been following Quinn Michaels for some years too, and I haven't followed him recently. He kind of has gone into the background a little bit. Very genius-minded kind of coder, much more brilliant than you could even say that the EM character of Africa is. This person used to be a coder for Nike. He comes from a SA background. When I say that, that's satanic abuse. His family did this to him. His child was stolen from him. He has had a lot of victimization going on with him, so he's turned into a reclusive type with his capabilities, and he shares. So he does have a channel. You could look for him if you'd like to, if you don't know him. He goes by Quinn Michaels, Quinn, Michaels, like it sounds, like the angel, the archangel. And I found him around the time that I knew who Tracy was. So I would say in the early 2000s, I think I first found him, maybe right there on the edge of maybe 11-ish, maybe somewhere in there. Sometimes it's hard. There's a quickening going on with this right now. They're seriously, hey, Tendi, how are you? They're seriously trying to make us have time slip through our fingers. And so we forget so easily time, because what feels like 2 months ago for most of us now feels like a lifetime ago. Things are happening at a rapid rate. Is anybody feeling like that? And how are you two doing? How is your part of the world doing? It is so good to see you both. Does anybody recognize Tracy Twyman or Quinn Michaels, or does anybody know who William Cooper was, who I'm going to read on in a little while? And not cards, mind you. I have an actual book here. It's nice and beautiful here too. The day went well. Is it nighttime there now, Tindy? I have the book, and I'm going to maybe do a second part depending on the time we have on the clock here. but it will be today. Behold a pale horse. It's on the tagline. This is a chapter that come open when I was reading for people, and I didn't speak on it because it was a Tinker channel. I'm pretty sure it was a Tinker. And it says a proposed constitutional model for the new states of America. And it says prepared over a 10-year period by the Center of Democratic Studies of Santa Barbara, California, at a total cost to the United States taxpayers of over $25 million. Now, this is from what I can tell, the Heritage Foundation 2025. But the plans were laid out before Cooper. I think he left in 91. No, wait. I'm pretty sure he left before the Trade Center was taken down. So 91 would make sense, but I thought it was only a couple years before that. So it might have been like 99 or 2000 he exited. Maybe somebody knows. I have to step away and I'll be right back. I am back. I was checking something. Okay, so I might just continue a little on Reddit, but there'll be a dedicated video, I think, to Tracy. So I'm going to probably do what I can with so actually there could be a lot of material for both of these characters. When I say characters, I mean, well, they're people. Nobody, if you're not aware of who they are, really knew. So they seem as though they're characters, but they're very fundamental people who lived in the United States to share, to impart wisdom to us, that were here to help. They cared. They had a heart. William Cooper had credentials, military, clearances, things like this. He had intel, and he did not leave without having it published, shared. He used to have a radio show too. And I think that there's been some AI deepfake videos put out of him that risk, that girl that I shared, I can't think of her name now. She's really intelligent. She does speak like a journalist. And she's kind of like X-File-ish. She kind of has the same kind of flair I do for what I like. And so she did kind of fall into information that I don't remember that he put out. So either it's something I never saw, or it is a deepfake. I kind of feel deepfake because I used to devour this kind of stuff. I was hungry, ravenous for information back when I listened to Art Bell and George Norrie, George Knapp. I mean, I was really into all this intel stuff, that some of it was disinfo and some of it wasn't. And I was just right over the, you can even ask my husband. I was over the top about it all of it. Okay, so back to, I'm reading on the last part of this person speaking on, she says, I believe that Tracy was experiencing the same type of gang stalking. Who knows if it ultimately pushed her to take her own life, but I imagine she was tormented and mentally exhausted by it. I presume the name of the Netflix series was Red Rose. Was partly inspired by the UK country it was filmed in. The red rose is a symbol of Lancashire. The strange coincidence is that Tracy wrote an article named Mad Love Pedo, like files, hearts, disposable teens, and closing of the doors of mercy on November 29th, 2016. The title of the article included a reference to cannibalism and Marilyn Manson's song Disposable Teens from the Eat Me, Drink Me album, which is like a reference, I think, to Alice in Wonderland. Even stranger, the article also included a section of sex magic rituals and the rosebud of rosebudding. I'll let you look that practice up for yourselves on Google. Warning, very graphic. This is what the person's saying here. Tracy also wrote that the rose is a symbol associated with Crowley, affiliated groups like the OTO, and was influenced by Rosicrucians and the Templars. I won't go any farther with this, but it is my personal belief that Tracy was forced to take her own, existence away, right? As she was previously told, possibly to save the life of her. So they might have said, it's you, or, we're taking your, and she protected her babe any way she could. And that's how big her heart was. And I believe that that could be a potential. If she did have to do it, she did it because she was fearing the safety of her own child. She got too close to the truth. And just like Isaac, Kappy, she said the ultimate price she paid. I just felt that I had to put this out there. That's what this person said. There's a whole lot more that if I can find anything worth sharing, and also maybe clips I can find, I could add together. I will do a Tracy special. This is just kind of a taste of how this woman was removed because she knew too much, and she wanted to let everyone know what she knew. And they used a mechanism which was a connection between dark web and artificial intel to take her down. Okay, so let's see if I can. I'm going to have a little light on this subject because I'm reading from an actual old-fashioned paper book. Some of us remember what those are. Anyway, let me get my chat opened here. And I've only held on to so many books. That's the funny thing. I used to have a great many books. And by the way, I did speak up. I don't know if anybody's interested in that. I used to have a great... I had a book I thought I got rid of. And just recently, when I was going through my tarot books, the ones that come with because I had to have them stored separate from the cards because of space, I found out I have that upright walking dogs with a voice box book, the Soldier Dogs. I think that's what they called it. I actually have it. I was thinking about maybe coming out here on this channel and reading it like an audiobook. Anybody interested in hearing that one? Okay, so we have the chapter 14. If you have the book, if you know the book, it's page 252. And I'm going to read from this book, Behold a Pale Horse. A proposed constitutional model for the newest states of America, the new states, preamble. So that we may join in common endeavors, welcome the future in good order, and create an adequate and self-repairing government, we the people do establish the new states of America. Herein, provided to be ours, and do ordain, this Constitution whose supreme law is it shall be until the time prescribed, for it shall have run. Article 1, Rights and Responsibilities. A. Rights. Section 1. Freedom of expression, of communication, of movement, of assembly, or of petition shall not be abridged except in declared emergency. Did you get that? Freedom of expression, communication, Movement, assembly, or a petition shall not be abridged except in declaration of declared emergency. Kind of seems to me like that's saying that we don't have the right to do anything. And kind of like an I Pet Goat, the film, you know, they have a goat in a box. It kind of feels like we're boxed in. Doesn't it seem like all our rights are gone right there? Section 2, access to information possessed by government agencies shall not be denied except in interest of national security, which they pull that one on us a lot. But communications among officials necessary to decision making shall be privileged. Section 3, public communicators may decline to reveal sources of information, but shall be responsible for hurtful disclosures. Section 4, the privacy of individuals shall be respected. Searches and seizures shall be made only on judicial warrant. Persons shall be pursued or questioned only for the prevention of crime and or apprehension of suspected criminals, and only according to rules established under law. I'm taking a pause for a moment. We're going to go back to Section 5 in a moment. I want to say, I feel we have alternate timelines. So I don't know if this is something that would be the plan after what they're doing now to re-invoke a new system, install it, or if we've completely gone off the rails and this whole fascist thing that's happening now is a totally different monster. That I'm not certain of. So we're going back to Section 5. There shall be no discrimination because of race, creed, color, origin, or sex. The Court of Rights and Responsibilities may determine whether selection for various occupations has been discriminatory. So it kind of feels like somebody wanting to erase DEI, like noticing that there's differences and people can decry and say, you know, like how DEI operated. Oh, well, wait a minute, I'm being overlooked because of this qualification or this reason, my label. You're looking at someone else because I am labeled. So it kind of feels like the whole DEI thing, right? So in other words, it would have to go to court to be proven there was any discrimination. Hey, Mr. Love, how are you? It's good to see you. You have seen I Pet Go, so you know what I'm talking about. Do you remember the box that poor goat is in, and it can't move, and all of its treatment and its life is in a box? That's it, right there. It's disturbing. Section 6, all persons shall have equal protection of the laws, and in all electoral procedures, the vote of every eligible citizen shall count equally with others. Section 7, it shall be public policy to promote discussion of public issues and to encourage peaceful public gathering. For this purpose, permission to hold such gatherings shall not be denied, nor shall they be interrupted, except in declared emergency or on a showing of imminent danger to public order and on judicial warrant. So if you were to merge this into the timeline we're in currently, I think if you had a dirty judge or system in, the judicial, that he could, if he wanted to, then go that way. But I think martial law could supersede if he should invoke that. So that's concerning there. Section 8, the practice of religion shall be privileged, but no religion shall be imposed by some on others, and none shall have public support. So then the Christian believers will then be, by this standard, knocked down a couple notches because they used to be the particular de facto religion of the nation, right? Section 9, any citizen may purchase, sell, lease, hold, convey, and inherit real and personal property, and shall benefit equally from all laws for security in such transactions. Okay, we're going to do Section 10 in just a moment. I just want to read to you, this was copywritten in 91. Copywritten in 1991. Section 10, those who cannot contribute to productivity shall be entitled to a share of the national product, but distribution shall be fair, and the total may not exceed the amount for this purpose held in the National Sharing Fund. I kind of wonder if that's like the Social Security and, like the funding that has a meaning, and it's pointed there for people who are needful, right? You have, well, I don't think the Veterans Administration would be part of that, but I'm kind of thinking Medicare, Medicaid, the medical, different kinds of organizations that are set out there for people who can't provide, right, or have gainful income. Section 11, education shall be provided at public expense so that would be like a private school, right? Well, public could be the tax system too, for those who meet appropriate tests of eligibility. So it's almost like saying privatizing right there, because if you have to, like pass some kind of what are your thoughts on that? I'm glad you're doing good. Is it warm there right now? Section 12, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Now look where we are now. That is if we were to believe what we believe right now. So to finish this, no property shall be taken without compensation. So people need to be compensated for what they will overreach on. So if they take wrongfully somebody's like property because they say there's mineral under there. So that's the reason why I feel they're using DEWs also, because while they're going to do the 15-minute cities, they're going to also steal what in the minerals are useful for them because they're pirates. Section 13, legislature shall define crimes and conditions requiring restraint, but confinement shall not be for punishment, and when possible, there shall be preparation for return to freedom. Section 14, no person shall be placed twice in jeopardy for the same offense. Well, look, if this were true, would we have this hooligan running things now? I mean, think about it. Was it 34 offenses, right? The same ones, probably. I'm not even sure. I think there were lots of them, and there had to be a couple of them that were more than once. Number 15, writs and habeas corpus shall not be suspended except in declared emergency. Section 16, accused persons shall be informed of charges against them, shall have a speedy trial, shall have reasonable bail, shall be allowed to confront witnesses or call others, and shall not be compelled to testify against themselves. At the time of arrest, they shall be informed of their right to be silent and to have counsel provided if necessary at public expense, and courts shall consider the contention that prosecution may be under an invalid or unjust statute. Okay, so I don't know if any of this is really worth reading into anymore. I'm going to say I feel like we're on a different timeline. What are your thoughts? Because this is like so not, I mean, I feel like this is supposed to be top secret according to this part. I don't think that he was just, but they wanted me to read this. So is anybody okay with me going on with this, or would you like me to change gears? Okay, we have B, responsibilities. Section 1. If anybody would like me to change gears, please let me know. Okay, thank you. Section 1, each freedom of the citizen shall prescribe a corresponding responsibility not to diminish that of others, of speech, communication, assembly, and petition. To grant the same freedom to others, of religion, to respect that of others, of privacy, not to invade that of others, of the holding and disposal of property, the obligation to extend the same privilege to others. Section 2, individuals and enterprises holding themselves out to serve the public shall serve all equally and without intention to misrepresent, conforming to such standards as may improve health and welfare. Section 3. Protection of the law shall be repaid by assistance in its enforcement. This shall include respect for the procedures of justice, apprehension of lawbreakers, and testimony at trial. Section 4. Each citizen shall participate in the process of democracy, assisting in the selection of officials and in monitoring of their conduct in office. Section 5. Each shall render such services to the nation as may be uniformly required by law. Objection by reason of conscience being adjudicated, I'm not sure I'm saying that right, as hereinafter provided, and none shall expect or may receive special privileges unless they for a public purpose defined by law. So in other words, I don't think that we can actually recuse ourselves or excuse ourselves, I should say, from voting, such as how I feel it's all a farce. But they want us implementing ourselves in every facet so that we're atoned for what way we proceed, how we vote. You know, I think they want us to be responsible for how we vote. I think that's what that means. Section 6. Each shall pay whatever share of government costs inconsistent with fairness to all. Section 7. Each shall refuse rewards or titles from other nations. This is something we probably should have had. Or their representations except as they be authorized by law. Section 8. There shall be a responsibility to avoid violence and to keep peace. For this reason, the bearing of arms and possession of lethal weapons shall be confined to the police. So they were planning on taking us of our Second Amendment right there. Members of the armed forces and those licensed under law. So right there, that would be stripping the Constitution of the Second Amendment. Section 9. Each shall assist in preserving the endowments of nature and enlarging the inheritance of the future generations. Section 10. Those granted the use of public lands, the air, or waters shall have a responsibility for using these resources so that, if irreplaceable, they are conserved, and if replaceable, they are put back as they were. Section 11. Retired officers of the armed forces of the senior civil service and the Senate shall regard their service as a permanent obligation and shall not engage in enterprise seeking profit from the government. Section 12. The devising or controlling of devices for management or technology shall establish responsibility for resulting costs. Section 13. All rights and responsibilities defined herein shall extend to such associations of citizens as may be authorized by law. Article 2. The new states. Section 1. There shall be new states, each comprising no less than 5% of the whole population. Existing states may continue and may have the states of new states if the boundary commission hereinafter provided shall be so decided. The commission shall be guided in its recommendations by the probability of accommodation to the conditions for effective government. States electing by referendum to continue if the commissions recommend otherwise shall nevertheless accept all new state obligations. Section 2. The new states shall have constitutions formulated and adopted by processes hereinafter prescribed. Section 3. They shall have governors, legislatures, and planning, administrative, and judicial systems. Section 4. Their political procedures shall be organized and supervised by electoral overseers. But their election shall not be in years of presidential elections. Section 5. The electoral apparatus of the new states of America shall be available to them, and they may be allotted funds under rules agreed to by the national overseer. But expenditures may not be made by or any candidate for any candidate, except they be approved by the overseer, and requirements of residence in a voting district shall be no longer than 30 days. Section 6. They may charter subsidiary governments, urban or rural, and may delegate to them the powers appropriate for their responsibilities. Section 7. They may lay or may delegate the laying of taxes, but these shall conform to the restraints stated there hereinafter for the United New States of America. So the United's gone. That is totally butchered, by the way. This is just going to be, according to this, New States of America. Section 8. They may not tax exports. May not tax with intent to prevent imports. So the tariffs, that's what we're speaking of, right? And may not impose any tax forbidden by laws of the New States of America. But the objects inappropriate for taxation shall be clearly designated. Section 9. Taxes on land may be at higher rates than those on its improvements. Section 10. They shall be responsible for the administration of public services not reserved to the government of the New States of America, such activities being concerted with those of corresponding national agencies where these exist under arrangements common to all. Section 11. The rights and responsibilities prescribed in this Constitution shall be effective. So this is like a brand new Constitution that's being outdrawn here. The original ripped. And then this is a new one that's being invoked. That's what it looks like here. I haven't heard his radio show. I'm not sure, because I didn't listen to those. I only watched his videos and listened to his interviews. Somebody can school me on him maybe, if they know about him. In this Constitution shall be effective in the new states and shall be suspended only in emergency when declared by governors and not disapproved by the Senate of the New States of America. Section 12. Police powers of the new states shall extend to all matters not reserved to the New States of America, but preempted powers shall not be impaired. Section 13. New states may not enter into any treaty, alliance, confederation, or agreement unless approved by the Boundary Commission hereinafter provided. They may not coin money, provide for the payment of debts in any but legal tender, or make any charge for inter-new state services. They may not enact ex post facto laws or ones impairing the obligation of contracts. Section 14. New states may not impose barriers to imports from other jurisdictions or impose any hindrance to citizens' freedom of movement. Section 15. If governments of the new states fail to carry out fully their constitutional duties, their officials shall be warned and may be required by the Senate or on the recommendation of the watchkeeper to forfeit revenues from the new states of America. Article 3, the Electoral Branch, Section 1. To arrange for participation by the electorate in the determination of policies and the selection of officials, there shall be an electoral branch. Section 2. An overseer of electoral procedures shall be chosen by majority of the Senate and may be removed by 2/3 of the vote. It shall be the overseer's duty to supervise the organization of national and district parties, arrange for discussion among them, and provide for the nomination and election of candidates for public office. While in office, the overseer shall belong to no political organization, and after each presidential election shall offer to resign. Section 3. A national party shall be one having had at least a 5% affiliation in the latest general election, but a new party shall be recognized when valid petitions have been signed, at least 2 general no, excuse me, at least 2% of the voters in each of the 30% of the districts drawn for the House of Representatives, recognition shall be suspended upon failure to gain 5% of the votes at a second election, 10% at a third, or 15% at further elections. District parties shall be recognized when at least 2% of voters shall have signed petitions of affiliation, but recognition shall be withdrawn upon failure to attract the same percentages as are necessary for the continuance of national parties. Section 4. Recognition by the overseer shall bring parties within established regulations and entitle them to common privileges. Section 5. The overseer shall promulgate rules for party conduct and shall see that fair practices are maintained, and for this purpose shall appoint deputies in each district and shall supervise the choice in district and national conventions of party administrators. Regulations and appointments may be objected to by the Senate. Section 6. The overseer with the administrator and other officials shall A. provide the means of discussion in each party of public issues, and for this purpose ensure that members have adequate facilities for participation. B. Arrange for discussion in annual district meetings of the president's views and finding of planning branch and such other information as may be pertinent for the enlightened political discussion. C. Arrange on the first Saturday in each month for enrollment, valid for 1 year, of voters at convenient places. And Section 7, the overseer shall also A. assist the parties in nominating candidates for district members of the House of Representatives each 3 years. So are you all getting what I'm hearing here? There, I mean, what I'm actually reading, I think that the plan was to not let people be lifetimers. I think that they were trying to make sure that there was a maintenance, that we wouldn't have lifetimers going into the Congress, and it needed deadheading. Is that what I'm reading? Is anybody hearing that? I'm kind of feeling like they were putting rules so that things wouldn't get too comfortable in there, as it has been. So there are a few things, I don't know to what degree, but there are a few things that might have been good characteristics, that they were trying to uphold, bring forth. But now we have a new twist, and we don't know if this is something that Cooper, it was not definitive, right? Somebody went through a different dimension. Now, I'm going off record and off book right now, okay? DJT, the one that we believe right now, is the one that we would call president. This is a regime, though. It is not legal. None of it has been legal, okay? His uncle, I want to say his name is Fred. His uncle was involved during the ending of Nikola Tesla. When he went into his apartment in New York. I don't know if he owned the building, because I think they were all in real estate. He might have gone because he had, ownership over the building there. And he got the books that Nikola Tesla had about creating, dimension, the ability to fold time, change time, right? To use a portal. I'm so sorry to interrupt that, but I gotta go. Okay, Tendi, it was nice to see you. Thank you for stopping in. I'm sorry that today I'm kind of reading. I'm going to probably put it up here in a little bit, but tomorrow I'll be at the other channel. If you want to catch me there, I will be at the other channel tomorrow. And thank you, as always, for your support. I appreciate you coming by. So, just lost a whole bunch of cards. Let's find out what they had to say, because these are not your usual cards I just dropped. This is a deck that I pulled out, and it's called the Real Life Tarot deck. And I had one, I wish I'd had it yesterday for when Carrie asked that one question about star seeds, because it would have been very helpful. The one I did not get is an injection. It says botox. So I don't know when this deck was created, but I almost feel that this could also be ozempic, because it's kind of a egocentric kind of thing. You know, botox and ozempic, they're both ego-minded, right? How skinny and young you could be, right? So it's all about how you're seen by other people. You know, it's a very egocentric injection. So interesting. The next one I looked at is meat on a hook. And as disturbing as that is, it looks like it's almost like meat that's supposed to be put into the processing plant. And it kind of feels like the McDonald's story we were talking about, because I see what look like rodents and other kinds of things, you know, that look like they could be apparel to people who were put in to the meatpacking industry that, you know, we don't know, you know, the Soylent Green kind of thing, right? We don't know we're consuming if we go to drive ups, you know, that kind of thing. So the next one I have is mixologist. Okay, so if anybody is curious about aliens, I just had an alien card pop out. So that could be that that's you. If you have a concern about, maybe you're curious about Area 51. Somebody here interested in that? Because that's something that Carrie had me kind of pop into yesterday. If we need to revisit that, let me know. Oh, you are? Okay, so we can talk about that one too. What is this alien then? Let me find out real quick while I have the cards here. I have another deck I can ask. What is this Area 51 alien connection that I just had the alien come out? Can you tell me what that is about? Father of Cups. Black Swan event. Temperance. We have a Black Swan here. Water. Temperance. Okay, yeah, this has something to do with a starseed. The dark side of a starseed. So we were talking yesterday, temperance with another deck was being shown to me for Carrie on that subject, and it was relating to them wanting to tinker about with both sides and maybe implant the origins of what we are on the light and dark sectors, combining two different groups, right? And placing them maybe into a housing unit that would be non-authentic, right? This kind of feels like the alien side of it. It's like somebody has starseed origins that are keeping an eye on them and how they're transforming. I have a butterfly that just come out, a blue butterfly. So the transformation of the individual. So it could be you. And now we have justice. A black and a white fox are shown here. And the white one looks like it, I can't tell, they both might actually have their tail going through the globe on the justice card here. And this kind of has yin and yang feelings about it here, because oh, now, okay, so this says it all. Yeah, we have 2 cups, 2 roses. Okay, so sacrifice of 2. So if you want to listen to what I said, the person wrote for the rose meanings, you can go back if you need to. If not, I'm feeling this is a sacrifice put into this mixology that we had just previously. The alien is watching the changing transformation of somebody who is being blended with somebody else. So it's like, I kind of feel like we're cocktails. We are being treated like we're cocktails. We're yeah, I'm not using the right deck really. It gives me an idea, but it's not really the right deck to be. Okay, and here's the devil. And in this instance, I surely do. It's not Capricorn. It is the devil in this instance. Being anchored to earth. Some alien is cute. So it's a starseed connection. So I don't know who you prescribe to, whoever's listening to this right now. Father of Swords, Owl. That is also a reference to CIA for me too. The owl. Okay, so the alien I had popped out because there's quite evidently somebody who may be listening to this channel who has a starseed origin, and they are right now being looked upon to have part of themselves. Well, we're all actually, but somebody that understands this, that prescribes to this, they're taking, they're noticing those others that are tinkering about, right, with what is going on in the origins of us. And they're paying attention to how we're being husked out for, say, the better qualities that they want. Not the better, but the qualities they're looking for. So there's, when you think of DNA, we have what they call junk DNA, but we sure in the hell know that that's not junk. We know there's a lot of plentiful, important portions to that DNA that they want to keep us dumbed down on. So unless we exploit the truth, we wouldn't know. And what I'm getting is there's portions of us they want to husk out. So I think that the part that they want to husk out, based on what I'm feeling, and the birds are squawking in the background right now, is those non-accepting, let's just say those, what is the word I'm looking for? If you're a person who is not a hive-minded type, they want to husk that out. They want to make us resistant against being individual. I don't know if I'm saying this right. And so they want to have that dark and light portion of us, and they want us chained, anchored to this terra. They don't want us exceeding, and they don't want us ascending. So the alien, in which is a starseed connection, is keeping an eye on what's going on. Now, I don't feel that alien is the one in which it's behind it, but I could be wrong. Let me get one more on that one. No, I really don't. I feel that the oligarchs and the ones now, I don't know if it's, I don't know the word. I don't know. Somebody can help me. The terms of the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, you know, whenever we talk overlords, we talk about the ones that would come down here and think that we're just pieces on a chessboard to play with, right? So what word would you use? I believe they are, and they look like us. They are amount us, but can't make themselves see as yet. Okay, they're telling me with the mixology, the Two of Cups, the sacrificing, being chained to earth, the whole Zachariah Sitchin thing that I only read a little bit on, about how we were put here supposedly to mine gold for those that would be the wealthy, which would make you think that maybe the person who in this regime running America now is somewhat connected, because he acts like he thinks he's a pharaoh and he praises gold, right? Wealth, things of material gain. I saw a net, you know, like to capture a butterfly, right? With a whole bunch of money. Like somebody who's trying to catch every last buck they can get. And there's a value in every last thing they can get. Drop by drop, they'll take it, all of it. So I don't know who it is that, you know, like if you want to prescribe to Anunnaki and all these other terminologies, there goes that. Maybe that's it. Maybe it is Anunnaki. I had to let it ring, so I muted. I'm sorry. I'll get back to them in a minute. So according to what I got on this alien, I think that there is a starseed origin on some of us, because we're not all related that way, right? Some of us, probably the ones that come to this channel, if they resonate and they get along well with the others that come around, maybe we are all to some level are related spiritually in that essence, you know, like as far as starseeds. But there are so many different places where if you're to prescribe to starseed origins that you could originate from. So we all have different, let's say, traces of what we are within us, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close the book here and just open the topic up right now to starseeds. And then I'm probably going to have to run and do another part on this, but where did I quit? I'm not sure that this is really what I wanted to read, and I don't know if anybody, I'll let you vote if you want to hear more of this, but I'm wondering if there's a part of the chapter. We got the judicial branch here. That's the part we're finding ourselves at war on quite a bit here in America right now. Well, I only read parts of this book way back. I never read very much of it, but I will say he was very thorough. I don't even know how he got clearance in some of these. He did get some letters. Okay, they do have stuff here on ex-CIA agent says diary referring to Kennedy assassination is a hoax. And see the crap we just now fell for with that, you know what, farce we have running around now? Because he wants to deflect the files for the island of what he was part of. He doesn't want to, he wants to be completely excused of his own crimes. And here's the argument I have when it comes to that individual and what has happened. If you're a person who would be a Führer, if you will, a fascist leader, okay, and you take people without due process and you don't care who they are, and you throw them on a plane, no judge, no jury, nothing, to prove their innocence or guilt, and you send them away to the most dangerous of prisons in the world, probably, most probably. If you have that little care for individuals of lives, you don't even know you have a couple women and a 14-year-old in there. Who says that person, that same person, wouldn't be part of, and we already know that he is cozied up and been very, very buddy pow with that Jeffrey character. Who says that that individual would not do the things that he has been accused of, or that we believe there's reasonable doubt that he is hiding evidence that would put him in major trouble? So that's all I want to say on that matter. It makes him look all the more guilty, in my opinion. So I'm just going to read this real quick because it's larger print and it might go fast. Ex-CIA agent says diary referring to Kennedy assassination is a hoax. This was Reuters, Register, September 21, 1990, Houston. A diary claiming a Dallas policeman shot President JFK was unveiled Thursday, but a leading assassination theorist immediately labeled it as a hoax. The diary included notations in which the late Dallas police officer Roscoe White supposedly confessed to participating in a Central Intelligence Agency plot to kill Kennedy, who was shot to DEATH in Dallas, November 22, 63. They want me to KILL the president. God help me. They say he's a threat to the United States, a line in the document said. Private investigator Joe West showed pages from the diary at a news conference. West said White's widow, Geneva White Gallet, found the diary recently in the garage of her Midland, Texas home. She allowed him to make copies because she was dying and wants to use the few days she has left to let the truth be known, he said. But further CIA agent John Stockwell, who has written extensively on the possibility that Kennedy was, Killed, by government-led conspiracy, said at the same news conference that the diary appeared to be a fraud. I believe when analysis is done, it will show the document is a fabrication, and one that fairly easy to expose, said Stockwell, who was allowed to view the actual document this week. Something, the page is either the way it was printed, there's no letters here. Document this week, something to speculate on who might perpetrated the alleged fraud. He said the document refers to the Watergate break-in committed by the Nixon re-election campaign almost a year before it happened. It almost appeared to have been written and in the same type of felt tip pen that was not available during part of the time. From 56 to 71, White supposedly wrote. White died in a fire in 71. West, who has investigated the Kennedy assassination for 2 years, said he could not guarantee the veracity of the diary. The document also talks about White's involvement with alleged Kennedy assassin Lee Harvey Oswald, Oswald's murderer, Jack Ruby, and a mafia gunman who supposedly also took part in the assassination. Okay, I don't know how that all parlays to what come out, but it was all a nothing burger from what I understand with this Kennedy reveal and those files that he put out there just to basically do a wag the dog. Hey, look over there. You know America has ADHD. You're not paying attention. You're all a bunch of simpletons, right? This also parlays in well for me when the Bay of Pigs was necessary information we were talking on during the JFK years, before the end of him, right? Before his demise, right? Marilyn Monroe was very, very key. She was not a stupid blonde like everyone thought. She was actually very friendly. They got along really well, I guess, her and Fidel Castro. She went down to Cuba. She talked to him. She was not an enemy. There were a lot of things she was getting on intel. She was a person who was curious. She was a person that wanted to know the truth. She'd already been cozy with Jack and Bobby very well, okay? But that does not mean that she was doing something in an espionage way. It could just mean that she was so close to the truth and the lies, she wanted to exploit and know and understand things herself. I can understand fully where her mindset may have been. But I can say this. When she was offed, it's because she got too close to the truth. And I feel, just on the criteria data that I have read and listened to over the years, that it was mob related, and the mob has been in our government for a very long time. If anybody doesn't know, there was connections to the Kennedy family, that dad, the father to the boys, that big family, the Irish, family. There was some integrity based on the politicians of the Kennedys, we believe, we're told, right? But I guess there were some dealings that the father did. I don't know a whole lot about it. I do know that he had a affair with a movie star. I don't know a lot of criteria on him, but I think Marilyn was somebody who wanted to get to the truth. She had a nerve, she was one of those people who had to scratch to get to the truth. It was like an itch that unless she was to try to accomplish getting to something, it would nag at her. And I kind of understand that kind of way, as I'm similar. That is kind of how I'm made too. Some people want to know the truth. Some people, like, unfortunately, Tracy, and even maybe Bill Cooper, can end themselves, not purposely and not by their own hands, and maybe so, but in an indirect fashion, because they want to share and impart the truth. So yes, I firmly believe, and that's part of why I don't believe in the political system as far as voting. I think that everything is rigged, and I do think the mob has been behind it for a very, very long time. Now, me saying that, it's not me saying that I feel there was any kind of crime or willing, complicity in the JFK administration. I don't know. I, first of all, wasn't alive at that time. Anything that I've read about or heard about or anything like this is all I have to go on. But I can say that, if you go into, say, a deep leadership role of that nature. You're sworn to an oath, right? You do the things you're supposed to do. And then after you're sworn in, then all of a sudden you're rushed to an underground base or something like this, and you're debriefed on things that you had no idea you were part of or involved in or agreed to. These people who get involved with politics don't really know the full concept until after they say, I do, like a marriage. Like, I didn't know I was marrying into the mob, that kind of thing, right? But there it is in your face afterwards. And that could be what was the cause of the demise for both of the brothers in that family. That is just my idea. I could be wrong. It's just something that's coming to me right now. I've kind of dabbled in this for a while, having the whole Marilyn thing that I also connect in there, because I used to be a real big Marilyn fan, and I wouldn't know. Maybe I was friends with her in a prior life. Maybe my last lifetime, her and I were friends and she shared something with me. I don't know. I'm not ever going to say I was somebody famous. I do think that we do experience reincarnation. I do think that we can be other people, but I'm never going to say that, that was me, because that wasn't. Okay. But I could have been somebody who knew her. So anyways, so to end this, I guess what it's about is like a lot of people have lost their lives in this country based on the revelations and the trying to exploit truth to share, bring light to a matter that needs to be seen by the people. And there is a huge pushback in this nation, no matter whether it's small or large, right? To keep things hidden from us, to keep us in the dark, keep us unaware, keep us under or uneducated or fed disinfo, fear, and lies. But sadly, all these people who have crossed over, they did, but they didn't all for naught. Because if we can pull together all the kernels we can get from people who have lost their lives, why would they have lost their lives? First of all, that's another thing I have an argument about. If people are like basically meaningless and they were attention seeking, or whatever way you want to denigrate them and say, oh, they were schizophrenic, or they were paranoid, or they just fabricated things for attention, whatever, then why the necessity? Why? To get the truth out to people. Some of these people reacted reclusively after they had data or information intel. I mean, I don't even know how even to patch it together with it, but I mean, I even have curiosity about what was the actor that was involved that, trying to remember, he was a germaphobe. And he was the one that created this Bruce Goose. I'm trying to remember his name. Let me see if I can find his name. I want to say it's Howard Hughes, maybe. Let me see if I got the right one. I don't want to give the wrong one, so just a second. Leonardo DiCaprio portrayed him. I read about him a whole lot. Yes, Howard Hughes, billionaire back then, mind you. So he died in the 70s, early 70s, I believe, or mid, maybe, somewhere in there. And being a billionaire in that time, that is very wealthy for that era. Him and Onassis, there were some people who were very wealthy in those times. So this would even, I would presume, precede that of the African apartheid lover. Anyways, Howard Hughes was somebody who I think got too close to the truth in some matters, based on the mafia and the control and power it had. Could have been that he got too, because, the mafia is like trained rabid dogs. They are the kind that, have you ever seen how pit bulls put their teeth into the flesh of another living being and they don't come out? There is like a lust. There is a desire to not stop until there is not a sign of life left in that creature, whether it be people, dog, another animal, whatever it is. A pit bull. So if you think of the mob as pit bulls, that would be accurate. So what I'm saying is that no amount of money could fight a mob if the mob is powerful enough. I mean, look, we've talked about a lot of the particular cartels that run things for our drug agencies that we are worried about here in the US and on the borders and everywhere else, right? And that has been something that has concerned me for some time too, since the last 2 months. that this character is running things by the Heritage Foundation 25. But how do we know that the Heritage 2025 and WEF and all these other things don't work in concert with each other? How do we know they're not all part of one big body that can usurp the powers to put a chain of command over the masses of the whole planet, so the same goal is applied and they all work together in tandem? How do we know they're not all working together? Kind of like how a lot of people say, and I've always believed this, especially since the 2021 mark, or the year that Bush was actually granted position of presidency because of the hanging Chad, with Gore, who was vice president, and he was at the time going against. And so a lot would happen that year. That is what stripped me of my confidence in the belief of what we were, you know, our system and how it was based on integrity. I had true doubt at that point. So how do we know? It's like the Democrats and the Republicans, two birds or two wings of the same bird, two sides of the same coin. How do we know they haven't always been throwing us under the bus collectively? Because they are arranged to do so. They're aligned. I mean, we hear stories over all the time, how they'll break bread with each other at bars. They'll talk and laugh. They're friends with each other. Democrats and Republicans. Oh my gosh, dogs and cats sleeping together. This is the thing I'm talking about. So from at least Kennedy's time, I feel that we may have had the mob pulling strings in the background the whole time. But there's another edge to put in here if you want to go with the woo-woo and the alien thing. Area 51. Dennis Kucinich, back when I started to really open my eyes to some of the political things going on, because as I said, I kind of excused myself from the topic, the table. Dennis Kucinich was a Democrat, I think from Detroit, somewhere up in that area anyway, maybe not Detroit, but he was a representative who would go from his, his area to DC. He went back and forth. He wasn't one that just stayed within, so he would reach across the table and he would work, right? Bargain. He said that you don't want to be in DC. There was a quote he made, and I actually heard him do it verbally way before AI could have done this for him. He said, you don't want to be in DC on the weekend. He says, you do not want to be on the streets of Congress or, in Capital City, whatever it is, right? You don't want to be there on the weekend. He said, when you are, that's when you start seeing people really for themselves or for who they really are. And he literally said, and he went on record, and this might have made him look incredible or not, he lost credibility to some because nobody believed anything then. But he did kind of think about Star Wars when you see the Sith, with the hood over his face and, the demon within, right? He said he could see the demon. There was a demon that actually, and I don't remember if he's the one that spoke on, but a lot of people have since spoke on that empty seat that has always been waiting for the particular non-seeable person who should be in Congress. There's an empty seat always there waiting, which is alluding to El Diablo, okay? So I would argue that if we're looking at it at modern time, that would be Mr. Africa. That's just my opinion. You don't have to shoot the messenger. I get this by spirit. I don't just say this only by my opinion alone, but I do speak with energy when I do formulate opinions. I would not feel comfortable saying it if I didn't have somebody who is maybe helping me with this. So from the other side, I will say from what I know, though, that if Kucinich put his neck on the line to do that, and he had a pretty powerful position, he was putting it on the line. He could have lost everything by going on the right. So in other words, he was saying things that other people in Congress knew. He wasn't saying anything. He was just the only one that had the cojones to go out and say it on record. This was like 2011. I want to maybe 9 to 11, somewhere in there. I'm trying to think. I was so desperate to be online at the time because we didn't have Wi-Fi yet. We've always been way behind on getting technology. I'm not a person who's lived real well, okay? So I used what was my Wii, the Nintendo Wii. I used it with a internet interface that it offered in there. And that is how I got my internet at the time. So it was slow, it took time, but I did go through the trouble to painstakingly get things to load. I got things to work, so that's how I got it. But it was around that time anyway. I don't know if I've pretty much lost everyone here. If anyone's here, anybody who wants to talk, if they have a question, they want me to read anything on the cards for the collective energy. I do think that we have a lot at play that is not, it's beyond. So we're talking demon and we're talking alien kind of stuff. Artificial, I was talking about Tyler earlier. So if you know what I'm talking about, you heard the earlier portion about Tracy Twyman. So this topic is basically about people who have exited because they shared things that they got close to, they were privy of intel. That's what this portion has been on for Deja Vu. And I will remain a few minutes and see if anyone wants to talk. If not, I will probably be leaving. But I just wanted to let you all know that I'm going to try to keep talking about things that may be important. I'm going to try and be present for those that need my assistance if they do with their love and their life queries that they might come for. I'm going to do my best. But I am personally feeling a challenge. So I'm feeling like under attack my own way here. So if I go quiet, it's not because I want to. It's because either something is stopping me or I just simply can't afford to do it. So if it comes to me going silent, like I said, I'm not somebody who would delete myself. I'm just saying it right now, putting it out there. I've said it before. That is not who I am. But it does concern me that we have these things that could invade our bodies. Now, nano dust is a way they can get in. And just about the time that Tracy exited, just beforehand, there, and her channel has now since been scrubbed, there was a woman I really adored listening to. To some degree, she would be my auntie, as some of you call me auntie. She'd be my auntie. She was probably a good 17 years, maybe more older than me. She had a really rough voice because she'd previously, I think, smoked, and she'd been sick. Well, maybe it was just her lungs were not well. She went by Coffee, Tea, and Oddities. That's what her channel on YouTube was. And she come out and she shared so much with us. Her intel was so on point, so important, germane in the time and even to now, about how we could be attacked by the nanites, by Morgellons, by the things that they were doing, the sinister moves they were making, the plots, the plans. And as she shared things, she would amass a pretty nice size amount of people subscribing because they could feel and recognize the truth in her. They had each had their own experience. So she was a very wise one to listen to, and I miss her, and I can't find her. I wanted to use her videos to somewhat impart with you here at this channel, but I've looked for her and it seems to have been scrubbed. That or renamed, and I have no way of finding it now. Anyway, she would have passed on. Her husband had owned, because the way that intellectual property works, I think it was in his custody because the technology was still in his power, but they might have taken it away from her. It might have been him, but he was manning the command on it, so like keeping track or no trolls or things like. He was doing that for a good, say, 6 months or so at least, and then boom, he disappeared for a while, didn't show up. I don't know if he ended or he just quit watching it, to see if there's anybody showing up. And I used to know somebody who I met through her channel that we subscribed to each other. And I don't know if she's still around, and I don't know her channel name now. I think a lot of people who've been out here telling the truth have been targeted. I really do. But it was Coffee, Tea, and Oddities, or another Oddities. Let me see. Yeah, her channel is absolutely gone. There's only one way that it still exists, and it's either he ripped it down and took, it and sent it over to another platform. It could be out there somewhere, or there is a potential that he just completely destroyed it, or he did not live. He was younger than her, though, but it doesn't mean that he did not end by some way, right? People go at all times in their, ages. It doesn't have to be just elder people, right? I think he might have been younger than me. I think that she was married to someone close to 20 years younger than her, I think. And I think they were together a while. So it didn't feel like something like he just come into her life and, that was his agenda, that kind of thing. So I would hope not anyway. So I'm not really seeing anybody here. Maybe I put everyone to sleep. I'm going to go ahead and make the call back I got to make, and we'll see if I need to in the first place. And I will be back here on this channel to do whatever I can to add to the topics I've been talking about, and then some others, new ones, and whatever you comment to help me decide what to read on with actual spiritual, answers, bringing out the cards. I'll meditate and I'll do some cleansing here to decide what cards to use for the next round. But I'm going to do that very thing beforehand for Tinkerbee. And also, if anyone's interested, I have verbal or say messages from your loved person. So I have a pouch of a bunch of them that are together in their oracle ones. So if you're interested in those will be there with the Scrabble tomorrow. And anything I can add to it, I will try my best. Hey, Jackie, how are you doing? Have you talked to him? Have you? No. I'm sorry. You're both in Ohio, right? Oh, I'm okay. I'm having a beautiful day here for the first time in a while. There's sun out. The temperature is rising a little bit. So I really don't have a lot to complain about. I'm doing okay. I hope you're doing well. Are you able to make it tomorrow? I don't know what time I'm going to be there is the only thing. I'm going to try for the morning. So if anybody's listening and they're curious, I'm going to attempt between 7 and 8 a.m. Pacific Standard. I'm hoping for. It just depends on if I can keep myself awake. Because today, I got up and I was back to being asleep until almost 11. It's just I've been so tired lately. Did you guys ever eat at Denny's? Right now, it's 4:08 p.m. Oh, you're on Facebook a lot more too, aren't you? That makes sense too. You've ate there. Yeah, I have a card that showed up called Danny's, and it's kind of a mock version of Denny's. So there's some kind of festival somebody's going to be attending, maybe. I think somebody might be wanting to go to a festival or something. If you go to a festival, be careful, because I just got the danger card. So anybody attending festival, be careful where you're, in crowds. Be cautious of who you're around, who you're with. Be sure you're with people you trust. That would be specifically, I would say, American, but it could be anybody. Mr. Love, I'm here for all your show. You always there for me. So, oh, you're so sweet. Thank you, Mr. Love. You're so kind. I do appreciate you all. I appreciate you, Jackie. I appreciate you, Jeffrey. And I appreciate Tindy. Thank you, all of you, for the support you bring. I really do appreciate you each. They've been numb today. I noticed that it has to do with sometimes my diet and sometimes it's activity, the more I do. But I think that the cold weather is starting to let up. They should get better, I hope, because usually the cold makes it worse. Thank you for asking, Mr. Love. I will. I think that's why I've been really tired. My body is trying to command that I get the rest I need. You don't get the notifications much. You know, sometimes I pop in here really fast, Jackie, but you're always welcome to leave your question on the outside and I can get to it. If you want to rewind the video, I will have it for you. That being said, I probably should get going. I don't want to, but maybe I will take advice from Mr. Love and I'll go get some sleep and be rested up for the read. So I hope that I'll get to see most everybody. But I am going to do Tinker BT tomorrow, and I'm going to do Lucky Star. So if anybody has an idea, that would be Thursday, if they can make it Thursday. What if they do the math that I could be 3 hours ahead of them or behind them or somewhere, but I'm Pacific time here. So I'm currently 4 p.m. here. So if they can kind of do the math and just give me an idea by telling me what time zone they are, so like plus whatever, negative something, for Thursday, if they can't make it for Wednesday. That would be a lucky star. But I probably ought to get running. It's 7 to 12 here. 7:12 p.m. Okay, so it's after 7. Yeah, you're 3 hours ahead of me. So you're like on the New York time zone then, Eastern. Okay, I probably ought to get going. Thank you again, everybody. And all the best to everyone. And I'm sending positive, happy, good, prosperity, healing, and white light for you all, okay? All positivity, completely. Be well, okay? Deja vu out for now.